My name's Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Welcome back to the show. I am the host of Real Men, Real Talk Live. My name again is Jay Rothman, and welcome to another Friday night episode. We have in the studio Mr. Charles Maddox coming in from Tampa, Florida. Welcome to the show, Charles. Good to see you this evening.
Yeah, you too, brothers.
We've got Evis Love Heath, the man of the land from down under, coming in from a spot they call Australia, across the pond. And of course, we have Jeff Fasano coming in from Nashville, Tennessee. We have Josh Richer out this evening. Unfortunately, he is under the weather. We will miss you, Josh, this evening. You're here with us in spirit, and we will continue to hold that one spot for you. Welcome to the show, guys. Good to see you. Another Friday is upon us.
Woo! Hey, another Friday. It was just like we were here yesterday, Jay Roth, the man, saying, "Are we enough?"
Yeah. Well, that was last week's topic. This week, we're going to jump into a topic that we've all have experienced at one time in our life. It's all about loneliness. It's all about, are we lonely? Are we feeling lonely? And, you know, it's an interesting time that we, as a world, all have been forced to embrace, including social distancing, isolation, and how that has impacted us. Quarantine, it's all impacted us physically, but what has it done to us emotionally, mentally? And if we, even if for those that may have a really strong foundation, I suppose it's still impacting those people as well. But I wanted to take the moment just to bring the show in on this topic of are we lonely, and what does that really feel like to be lonely? And so what we're going to do is I'm going to open it right up and invite Mr. Evis Love to kick us off and get us warmed up. Before you go there, though, Ev, I would like to thank those viewers and listeners that are with us live. If you should hear something that you like or love, gently push your like or love button on your screen. And this is an interactive show, so if you have any questions or comments, please share it with us, and we will do our best to acknowledge and answer any questions that should come forward. But bringing it back to you, Ev, what does this whole thing about loneliness feel like for you? I know today I believe you're a single guy. What does it feel like? How do you get through it? And go from there.
All right, my brother. Let's dive in, my brothers and sisters on the other side of the pond here in the land down under. As always, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And man, been another big week down here in the land down under. And as you mentioned, Jay Roth, the man, it's been a big year. We open up each show, we're talking about this big year of what we've been experiencing. You know, this whole idea of quarantine, this whole idea of social distancing, this whole idea of social separation. You stay away from them. If you stay away, you're going to be protecting them. I mean, this is so far away from we as human beings. It is our nature to be connected in the company of others. But now we've actually been forced to come back to self, and maybe we have fallen into, you know, sort of feelings of loneliness because we just don't have that company. We just don't have that warmth. We just don't have the nurturing. We just don't have that care. So during this isolation for me, a lot of you guys out there know my story, and I would probably say that I went through a lot of this year, maybe 3-4 years ago. I started to really feel a change, a big, would say, disruption in my life when I went through a separation of myself. And in that separation, where I was with my partner for a good 5 years, it was a big shock to me. It was not seen coming, and I would say to myself that in past relationships, that I could have easily went into a feeling of loneliness, a sense of not feeling that company, that warmth that I was used to, and it was easy way of seeing myself, go into those deeper, darker feelings. But what I did this time around, Jay, I went into what you would call more solitude. And I opened up in a video this morning, I was talking a little bit about solitude, but really starting to understand and understand some of these words we're still using here. Because that word loneliness, it's a deep, deep, wounding word. Now, we've got to go deep within to understand some of these feelings and emotions to really understand why we may be going through some of this time that we are. We're really being encouraged to come back to ourselves, and through some of these potential challenges, through some of these opportunities to open up to some of this awareness, we're being invited to really see that we're never alone. We're never alone. When we look at some of these words, look at that word for a second, alone. What I see is all one. So I'm going to ask you, my brothers and sisters, I'm going to dive in deep tonight. Are you feeling all one when you're alone, or are you feeling lonely? So yeah, man, let's dive in deep tonight, my brothers.
Wow. Charles, what do you make of that?
Yeah. I mean, it's actually, I was sitting here today, and I was actually watching a TV series, and I'm the type of person, I'm literally on the computer, I'll lay on my bed, be online, doing some stuff online, but I was at a serious piece today, just sitting on there, man, relaxing, watching this series. Not stressed about work, not stressed about business, not stressed about kids. And I found my solace. And I know a couple of weeks ago, there was a day, man, where I was just, it was 4:00 in the afternoon, and I was lonely and alone and didn't know what to do with myself. And, I think we have, spurts of this where it comes and goes. But I think that maybe where I'm at now is a good space. We even thinking about this, we do this show every Friday night, and think of where we should be or could be, if this COVID wasn't here right now, right? I mean, we definitely wouldn't be want to sit around at 9:00 on a Friday night in the house. Right, we'd be at a restaurant, we'd be somewhere listening to some jazz. So things have really changed, and I think that once again, really having that inner peace with yourself can get away some of that loneliness and not put us in a place where we feel that we have to have someone around us at all times. And I've been guilty of that. I've had people tell me I was a collector of people. And, I always like people around me, but I also look at what I have in front of me. I have a couple of great people that I know that care about me and are here for me if I need them. And I could always reach out by phone or see them face to face. I just got back from seeing my mother yesterday. And when you talk about someone who's alone, she has someone who visits her for about 4 hours a day. Other than that, she's literally laying in the bed, because of her rare disease all day and night. And, about, 11 o'clock at night, she's just talking away and I'm just, half listening, but she's just talking away because, she needed somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder how she deals with being alone or loneliness. And if they can deal with it, I think that, once again, if we're okay inside of ourselves, we can deal with that a little bit ourselves. So,
Charles, let me ask you. It was a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, where you actually had put it out in the show that you were aware that you felt lonely, but today it was a different experience for you. What do you think was the shift for you today? What did you do differently today than you did 3 weeks ago that had you kind of in it?
Well, obviously, I was dealing with a bunch of stuff that was going on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I think that was, once again, questioning myself, questioning my motives, questioning, what someone else might have thought about me, had me, in a space where, it had me really just, my mind was all over the place. I think right now I'm more settled, feeling fantastic. A lot of great things going on. Blessed to be alive. Blessed to have other ones that I love, healthy and kicking. And, we could be dealing with a whole lot worse. So I'm just blessed. I'm in a great situation and feeling good about myself.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is that some of it is about mindset.
Yeah.
And you just use that word, you're grateful. And gratitude is a powerful tool for when we have those low moments. And when we're able to shift our focus from what we feel we may in that moment feel like lack to really just hone in. You don't need to have a lot of big things, just a few things that we can think about, that we can be grateful for, and it can shift our relationship to the emotions or feelings of loneliness. It's powerful. Thanks for sharing that, Charles. This is why this show works, because we show up real, vulnerable, and sometimes we disclose things that we're not accustomed to having done in the past, especially if we were private as men. But my experience is that when we show up real, we get to heal. And so with that, Mr. Jeff Fasano, welcome to the show. What's your take and spin on these feelings of loneliness?
Well, I know as I hear about 4 or 5 songs popping into my head about this subject. Evis did his amazing Elvis impersonation on his morning video for him today, where Elvis said, "I'm so lonely I could die." And actually, for him, that was the truth. But there's so many ways we can go with this, because I do remember many times, and even recently, how I just felt this emptiness. If I wanted to call it loneliness, but an emptiness inside of me, where I was, dare I use the word, craving to connect outside of myself. Yearning is a better word. I think what happens when we start to feel lonely, and the key here is to know that it's a feeling. I'm feeling lonely. So it's a feeling. Evis asked me on Tuesday at our production meeting, so what do you do with that? And it's about allowing your feelings. I'm feeling lonely right now. What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling lonely right now. And then to go through it and even beneath the feeling of lonely, and what's under that? For me, there was an emptiness inside of me, an emptiness that was vast inside of me that I couldn't comprehend or even put a finger on. There was just something that was empty in me. I never looked outside of myself to fill it up because I knew I had to be with it. But Evis just said something that was really important. I started to look at me. I started to look at underneath that. What was the emptiness? What was I thinking that wasn't in my life? What am I yearning for in my life? Underneath the emptiness was looking at what I thought isn't in my life and focusing on what isn't in my life or what I thought isn't in my life. Sure, we all would like, I'm single, I'd like a partner, we'd all like this, we'd all like, during this time to be back together with our group of friends and like Charles just said, going out for dinner on a Friday night, going to see some music, which is a big part of my life. But the shift for me is that I just started to look at me more deeply. I started to look at me more deeply and then started to look at what and who is in my life. And then go through places of gratitude, really just moving within and seeing my accomplishments in my life, what I am doing in my life. It's really about beginning to look at if I'm feeling lonely, what is beneath that loneliness? And am I looking at what isn't in my life? What I'm yearning for that isn't, which perpetuates the yearning after outside of yourself. The thing is is a movement within to look at what is in my life, what I have in my life. And Evis just said it, get a greater sense of self, get a greater sense of who I am and what is important for me in life. I think what's really transpiring now during this physical distancing, and what I have done at this time is really find out what really and truly is important in my life that I want to create that is already there, and to see where we are full, where there is a fullness in my life. And when you're alone, and I'm alone often, I have 2 cats, it's challenging to do it, but we can create a new community like we're doing here. We're creating this community. Charles, Josh, Evis, Jay, and myself have created this wonderful community with the 5 of us, and it's a very fulfilling and rewarding thing. What I know that I'm going on here, but what I would ask everyone to do is to look at the word lonely, look at the word alone, and look at the word aloneness. And look at that and define it for yourself and see what that means for yourself. Because underneath all of that might be something that you were taught that alone might mean. It might mean whatever that means to you is a trigger to what has been taught. I'm alone, therefore I'm not worthy. My mother always would look at me and help me a little extra. And I was like, well, Mom, why do that? Well, your brother's married and he has friends. You're alone. And I always thought that was interesting because it never bothered me. Anyhow, those are all the things that I've looked at, and I guess you guys out there can look at too. I'd love to ask the audience 1,000 questions if they're feeling lonely.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this question. You've all been in committed relationships in your lifetime. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone and still feel very lonely, still feel alone? And I guess we got one taken so far. The question really is why? What is that about? Because there's a lot of us that have this belief system that if we're suffering in those feelings of loneliness, we have this belief system that, well, I just got to meet somebody, because when I meet somebody, that'll go away.
Yeah.
I see a lot of women and some men that post that type of message consistently in social media, that they're really yearning for a relationship so that they don't have to deal with lonely feelings. What's been your
Yeah.
experience with that? Any of you guys want to step in to the plate and describe what was behind it and why you think you had those feelings even in that committed relationship?
Look, I'll just quickly dive in there. And again, I'll just go back to what Jeff said as well. That feeling of emptiness.
Yeah.
You know, when we actually start to really take on board what we're living in here, and we're always talking about mirror consciousness. If we're pulling in someone into our field, our energy field, and that person represents a feeling of emptiness, you've got to look yourself in the mirror and ask, where am I empty within? You know, these connections that we call relationships have really, really been sorted out to come back into alignment as connections.
Mhm.
We've said this in previous episodes, and not wound-based attachments from our childhood. A lot of this wounding, again, goes back to that first 7-year cycle where we weren't seen, we weren't heard. We may have been called the loner. Have you ever been called the loner before? Have you ever been called, oh, look at, this person with Mary no friends or something like that? You know, when we go back to those early childhood days, and we don't need to fall back on someone, that partner, person, person, or thing in our life, then we can start really getting to the root of why we may be feeling lonely. And until we do, we will keep attracting that particular person, place, or thing, whatever relationship it is, into your life based on your emptiness, based on your loneliness. And that is the beautiful thing that we have with relationships of people, places, and things around us.
Chad Fox says, yes, often called the loner.
Yeah.
Now, that's an interesting word right there, because wait a minute. What just came through for me, Ev, was is a loner someone who is alone, or is a loner someone who gives him or herself out to others?
Which is what I mentioned. Yeah, man, 100%.
More so than necessary. So I don't know what, Chad, I don't know what you meant by that. I suspect you meant that that you tended to be more, you're comfortable to be more by yourself. You don't need to be surrounded by people. But there is that double innuendo there of, is a loner, how many times are we giving ourselves out? We're loaning ourselves to others so that we don't feel lonely, when in fact we're giving ourselves away to some people that aren't worthy of having that intimate connection. So right there, we could dissect that word if we wanted to. I think I just did a pretty extensive job of that. Charles, I like how when I talked about, when I brought up this part of the segment about, have you been in a relationship and still felt lonely? Have you? What's that experience been for you? Have you had that? And how'd you navigate that?
I think we all have. You know, I mean, if you've been, especially if you've been in a relationship that was, somewhat dysfunctional, I think that I remember laying in my kid's bed, laying in my kid's bed, with my heart palpitating, man, just stressed out behind my ex, and literally just feeling alone as far as there's been times where I've had to go to, let's say I wasn't feeling well and I had to go to the hospital because I remember I cut my finger, and you go in there by yourself, but yet you're living with someone and supposedly in a relationship, and I'm sitting in the hospital having to attend to myself. Another time I had gone to the ER. I think I was having some indigestion, and I had to call a good buddy of mine. Not, of course, I couldn't count on the woman I was with, you know. I had to call a friend who stayed the whole night till the morning with me, you know. So, you know, of course, I think that, you know, when you're at times in something that's just not right, the loneliness could creep in because, you know, when you're looking for that attention, when you're looking for that compassion, when you're looking for that friendship, it's not there. So yeah, I've been there, and I'm sure a lot of us have been there too as well. And that leads to a lot of things, you know, that leads to creeping and crawling, Snoop Doggy dogging, you know, that leads to, you know, looking around the corner because you know, you need somebody at times just to make you to talk to make you feel good, you know. And now, you know, and then next thing you know, you could become a potential cheater, right? Because you just need somebody's affection, somebody's attention, right? So it's not a good feeling. I'm sure you guys could elaborate a little bit more on it.
Yeah, man.
I'm thinking back. I'm thinking back to some of my relationships, but I think when it was getting to that point, it's when I knew the relationship wasn't working anymore, and it came to an end. But what I really feel, I'm thinking if you're in a relationship like that, look at the relationship, look at yourself, look at why you created the relationship, and did you create the relationship out of emptiness or conditioning and what you have been programmed with, of, you know, what you might have bought into, that you have a relationship, you're supposed to have a relationship, you're supposed to get married, you're supposed to have kids, and you start creating these relationships that eventually, because of the reason why they were created, which may be a lack of self-love, or looking to fill up the emptiness that you feel, because we're never empty. So I need to be completed in my life. I need to look outside of myself for that person or that thing or whatever is it looking for. And once I have that, that's going to complete me, and I'm going to feel whole and full. Like I said earlier, loneliness is just a feeling. I'm feeling lonely. And it's important to go into that feeling and have the feeling, I'm feeling lonely. Okay, well, I'll feel lonely. And then move into the wounded child who is feeling lonely, that Evis just said, that never received the attention, the nurturing from mom and dad. So when you start to feel lonely and say, I'm in this place of loneliness, what are you searching for? What are you looking for? Are you looking for attention, healthy acknowledgement? Are you looking for nurturing for where you are? Like Charles just said, I had to go to the hospital, and my significant other, my wife, didn't come with me. And then I had to call a buddy to help me, to have my back while I'm at the hospital, to in some way nurture me in this place. That is what I needed. And then when that happens, you start to feel a deeper connection. So what it really comes down to is feeling a deeper connection with yourself, and then looking at the people in your life and how they can add to that, how they can come in, and who nurtures me, who is there, where is there a connection, where is it healthy? And then you could be with that and allow yourself in those times, we've all been there, I'm feeling lonely right now. So it's about having the tools to move, not get rid of the feeling of lonely. Because when we have that feeling, I'm feeling lonely right now. And there are feelings that we don't want to feel, but the feelings hit us. I'm feeling really lonely right now. What most people will do is they'll sink into that feeling. I'm lonely. Oh, I'm so lonely. I wish that I had a significant other. I wish that I could do this. I wish that I could do that. And when you sink and indulge into the feeling, that is what creates loneliness. I'm going to say that one more time. When you sink and indulge yourself into the feeling of I'm lonely, and then you move from your heart space into your mind, and your mind comes up with all of these scenarios as to that's why you're lonely, and you sink into that, then that creates the isolation and a deeper place of loneliness. But I want to just really quick go back to what Chad said. I think Chad said, I'm a loner. And my question to Chad would be, are you sure about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think some people like being alone, and I see some comments in here, and I don't know. I don't want to get to a space where I'm okay with, myself all the time. If that makes sense. Not that God knows. I mean, we have to have some time to ourselves. But man, I look forward to the company of someone who we can build and grow and share and create memories. I'm still ready to create some amazing memories. I don't get off on my own company all the time, because maybe I like to give so much that I feel like I want someone around me that I can give with and I can receive to as well. So I think that I'd like to hear, have some people got to a space where what was it, something that happened to them? Was it something that, obviously some people say they choose that, but I mean, who just chooses? Well, obviously Chad said he's a loner, but who just chooses to want to be alone? Why?
That's why I said to him, are you sure?
Yeah. I mean, I love people. I love being around people, and God knows I don't want to get to that space where I'm just, man, sitting around in a house with a dog and watching.
Dog in the bone, bro. Dog in the bone.
Jillian Bowie just said something that was wonderful here. I'm also like that, Charles. I'm a very social person, and I love being around people often, but I just know this, that before I really did a deep dive into me, as Jillian said, I could be in that room full of people and feel the depth of lonely within me in a room full of wonderful people, because it was me inside. It was me. There was something inside that created an emptiness, whether it's, what isn't in my life. And yeah, I'm with you. We're here to be with people.
Yeah.
It's important to say is that in when we move into a defense of defending inside, where we think we're not enough, where we think, we're not worthy, where we think, and notice I'm saying thinking, because that's all in our head, where we think this, we think that, what we do with that, if all of a sudden people come closer and want to be close, what we do with that, based upon that wounding, is we then defend against it and then fight for our separation and isolation. Even though we say we want to be that, we fight for that. So what I'm asking everybody out there, if you're feeling lonely or in this place of loneliness, ask yourself, am I fighting for that because of a wounding inside of me. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not, which is what we spoke about last week. So when somebody actually truly in transparency and authenticity comes to you and says, how are you doing? Let's go out. Let's do this. Are you fighting for, and that might be shifting and nudging you out of your comfort zone. Will you fight against that and then fight for your separation and isolation? So underneath it is that. With all that said, though, Mr. Rothman, we have not heard you break it down for us yet.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of.
And I'm sitting here with bated breath, wanting to hear Jay Rothman break it down.
Thank you very much.
You're breaking it down enough, Jeff.
I just
want to let you know, Jay, you're not alone.
Thank you. Thank God. You know. Here's the breakdown right now. We've really touched on a few different paths that we could take this conversation down right now. One of the things that comes to mind is really it is about balance. I've got a friend who I met through social media, and I just love this man. He's in his late 60s. He's been a guest on the original Real Men Real Talk Raw. His name is Brett Potter, and this guy, he lives for nature. He spends his winters, I don't know if he skates or snowboards, skis or snowboards, I should say. He spends his summers in the mountains, but I know he is connected with people. He has both. So really what breaking it down is, it's going back to balance. There are those that do enjoy that time alone. Ev, you're one of those guys. Brett Potter is one of those guys. I'm one of those guys that once I found that being alone didn't have to feel lonely, it changed my relationship, first and foremost with myself, and then everyone outside of me, because I get to show up differently because I've already taken care of, filling myself up as I think one of our viewers said here, filling themselves up. I think that was Lisa Fox, Chad's beautiful wife, who make this their Friday night date night to be with us at Real Men Real Talk Live. Thank you guys. That's just a quick plug to YouTube. But I think balance is the key. I don't think there's anything wrong with someone acknowledging that they are a loner. I think that for me, what that means in my life is it means that you're okay being by yourself. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't give us permission to isolate 24/7, because there's nothing healthy about that. That's going to lead to all types of mental health disorders, which is really just coming from your thoughts and your feelings about yourself. I believe that feeling lonely is, as I think you said, Jeff, is just a symptom. It's really not the root cause of your challenge or issues in life. It's just a symptom. I think really attached to feelings of loneliness is, whether it comes first or second, is really about self-esteem and self-worth. And so, Eva, I'd like to invite you to jump in at this moment, and because you're an outdoors man too. You spend a lot of time out in nature, but then you also do connect with people, because you also, to an extent, we don't know when you meet people, if you meet people in the bush, as you say, we don't know, you go live a lot, so you have that interaction. There's different ways that we can connect with people that can help us navigate and not spend our whole life days being alone and feeling lonely.
Yeah, man. I think, so many gold nuggets again. And look, I think that's the definition, trying to understand what that word alone means and what it means against loneliness, or, lonesomeness, or, all of these other words that connect with it. It's another one of those things that I will say is about awareness. there's just a slight disconnection, and there needs to be a realignment with your true, authentic self. Because once you start to align with your higher self, and I'm pretty sure most of our viewers now know what we're talking about when we're talking about higher self. Higher self is full of love. It's always love or above. But anything less than that is the ego. It's the ego mind that will try and keep you in those old patterns of self-sabotage, unworthiness, and no value within your life. Man, when I'm out in bush, I'm never alone, man. I'm all one again. My ancestors are out there in the trees, in the animals. You've just got to be aware. Stay still for a second. Just be still. I talk about this all the time. You know, we're in an age of so much fast motion and pace. Technology is going 100 miles an hour. I said this in this morning's video. You could be in the busiest city in the world, but you still feel alone. Many people are still in competition. So they tend to self-isolate themselves and they go straight onto the phone. Many people are still comparing themselves to others, so they go into isolation. This is just about awareness of where you are and where you are in alignment to that higher self that I'm talking about. Because like I said, once we're aligned to that higher self that just wants to melt down into the body full time right now, you will never be alone. You will never be lonely. You will be all one.
That's beautiful, Charles. I'll share this with you guys. I bet as few of you guys that are coaches on the show, I've experienced some clients of mine that because they are afraid to face their loneliness, they won't spend time alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the biggest block to overcoming the internal feelings of loneliness. Now, these are some of these clients of mine, they're married. And it doesn't matter. You see, I was once a married guy. I was very lonely in my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I've shared this before with you guys that there was a time I had the courage to bring that up to my wife. And, it didn't end so well. Because ultimately, I wanted her to make me feel less lonely. But I didn't know what I needed from her. And I didn't know what I needed for myself. I didn't have a roadmap. I had no GPS system. I didn't have the blueprint to break free of all of those old, heavy thoughts and feelings that included loneliness. And there was my roadblock. The roadblock was not my ex-wife. The roadblock was I didn't know how to navigate to not feel those feelings. And as you said, Ev, for me, the gateway to freedom was spending time alone and learning how to accept whatever those feelings that would come through. But it doesn't mean that I'm just like sitting in a room by myself alone. Alone for me means being out in nature, connecting with the universe, connecting with beautiful trees, connecting with beautiful rocks, connecting with some people that inevitably we'll meet. I'll meet on a trail. And it's up to me if I want to engage in conversation or just give them a smile and say, have a beautiful day and move on.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those conversations are just beautiful. And it wouldn't happen if I didn't step out of my inner fear and spend time by myself so that I can connect to myself. Mm-hmm. So because we're afraid of feeling lonely, we end up alone. And so my question to you guys is, what do you think is behind that? Why are some of us afraid to invest that time, to do some self-care by ourselves? What is the roadblock there? Any sense? Anyone want to chime in?
Go for it, Charles.
Well, I think we have, obviously 365 days a year and 24 hours a day. Um, I don't want to spend a whole lot of that in self-reflection all the time and being alone. Right? I mean, how much alone time do I need? You know, um, like I said, matter of fact, I was looking at a buddy of mine, and he posted an Instagram picture, and it was him, his beautiful wife, and like four of his kids. And I just looked at that picture and I'm like, my Lord, it was just beautiful. And then if you see his life, they're always doing something out in the Hamptons and just, with the kids and family, and he's doing a bike ride now and all that time. And I'm looking at that and I'm just like, that is a beautiful, beautiful situation. Who doesn't want that? I'm not saying you have to be envious or trying to obtain something like that, but I don't get any pleasure sitting around. I want something like that. I don't get pleasure sitting around in the house by myself, man, trying to invest in myself all the time, right?
Yeah.
We do that. We have plenty of time every day to invest in ourselves. It doesn't even have to be alone. You can be at work and investing in yourself as you're thinking about things, or taking a walk as you're and investing in yourself and getting that needed break that you need. Look at Evis. Evis goes out there, man. He has his time. He's working out the body. That's his time to reinvest in himself. He doesn't need to go home and be in solitude as well. You can do it in many a time. You could take a 20-minute, 15-minute break and do some meditation. I like, for me personally, and I want that dream, that white picket fence, so to speak, and enjoy making amazing memories, because this time is short. That's just me.
Charles, I want to take a moment just to honor you for being honest right here, and speaking your truth. I'm putting Jamie Rodriguez up on screen. He says for many, they just have never seen what being by themselves is like. Everything they have known is conditioned, family generational. So it's scary because they have never seen it. I just want to take a moment here. This is a beautiful statement that Jamie just shared. I had the honor and privilege of meeting Jamie Rodriguez just a couple of 24 hours ago. I found out he actually is a podcast host. He interviewed Jeff Fasano just a couple of weeks back, and Jeff connected the two of us, talk about not being alone. He flew out from the state of Florida, where he calls home today, to come to Sedona to spend time by himself, to kind of recalibrate, reboot, refresh, renew. And because I had that understanding, I just wanted to have an opportunity to meet him for a cup of a fruit smoothie or juice or something, just to connect. And we had a beautiful opportunity. We got together for about an hour and a half. Was it enough? No. Would have I liked to spend more time? Yes. But it was a beautiful time, even though he was out. His intention for this trip was to spend time alone in nature. And I suspect he came away with just a beautiful experience. So it is really about, how do we find balance and know what you need? It's really, I think, Charles, a large part of this is really getting in touch and having the awareness of what you need as a person to make sure your needs are met. Mm-hmm. But having said that, we don't have to rely on someone else to meet them for us. There are times, if we're willing to invest, it could be 15 minutes of meditation. It could be 30 minutes of a walk. It could be 30 minutes of swimming or being in a hot tub with a sauna, just in reflection, or just being present, not in reflection, but just being in a moment. Mm-hmm. Can that be enough?
Yeah.
Because, we're all going to be alone at times. But I think there's a difference between being alone at times and choosing to be alone, and enjoying that alone time on a regular basis. Once again, I obviously there's millions of people out here who, are going to think differently. Some people are, just like, Carmen said, some people are wired differently. And I think that that's okay. Some people are going to choose to love their own company and Robert said he's his own best friend. But then there's some people who, can have the middle ground where, they would love to maybe be in a relationship. They're not stressing it. But then you have some people who are literally on the hunt and the pursuit to fill that void. So I think that, I don't think there's any one size fits all. I think really it's making sure that we don't, compromise ourselves trying to do one too much or the other, right? We don't want to be so where we're looking for something so badly in our life, and we don't want to be so where we just, can come home to the dog and the cats and watch reruns of
NYPD Blue.
And why?
That's what I'm doing. Anyway.
See, you're never alone, Jeff.
Hey, I'll tell you what, guys. This is a subject that really hits home pretty deeply for me, because I have had those times where I did sink and indulge into went beneath the feeling and focused so much on that mythical emptiness because it's an illusion. Mm-hmm. And I would just focus my mind on what isn't in my life, what I haven't accomplished yet, what I haven't done yet. I say I would want my significant other, that woman in my life. I don't have that. That's not here. So it's a constant stream of what isn't, what I haven't done, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been there. So the people who out there says I'm lonely, I hear it, and more so, I feel it. I really, really, truly feel it when people are in that place of emptiness and even despair of I'm alone, I'm feeling lonely. And once again, it starts with that feeling. I'm feeling lonely. Then it just goes deeper and deeper, and it could spiral into this abyss. And I've been there, and I've done that. And I pulled myself out of it with being in therapy and working with someone. And what I really want to say is for people to define what being alone for them is, because many have been brought up from mom and dad saying, well, you get married, you have kids, and you get the white picket fence, you have your Leave It to Beaver life, and you do all of this. And in that conditioning, you might feel like a failure if you're alone. So it's about really defining what alone means to you, but there's a healthy aloneness. It's about recharging in a healthy manner, saying what I really need, I need right now to come back to myself, to reboot, to ground in myself, breathe. That could mean an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. It's all subjective, and it's all it's a person by person thing. But there's that healthy part in it, because what we all are here to do is connect, as Evis said. It's not about. I have friends, and I'm sure everybody out there. When I say this, is I have friends who stayed in relationships with people that were totally, totally toxic. And I've worked with people one-on-one with people who are doing this. And I would say, why? I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone. So I'd rather stay in this dysfunctional relationship, this relationship that's not serving my highest good, because I want to avoid the feelings that come up with being alone. So that's another thing to look at.
That's amazing, Jeff Fasano. Really bringing some clarity from your perspective and your experience in your life. I want to take a moment here, guys, to just acknowledge Taz James says, in the past, I would be with dozens of friends and I would feel so lonely. Taz, thank you for showing your vulnerability with us in this moment and being part of Real Men, Real Talk Live this evening. This is what this is about, you know? It's about us and the viewers showing up and really connecting, knowing that you're in a safe space, that we're not here to judge you. We're not here to shame you. We're not here to guilt you. We're just here to love you. Just as we hold respect and honor for each other in the show, our intention is to be here for you as well and provide inspiration and hope that it's possible to break through in the areas in your life that you want to improve. We're almost coming up on the hour, which is incredibly hard to accept, but I will do so. And so this is the time of the show where we start to see some movement. It's called musical chairs. And so whoever ends up to what I see as my right, the upper part of the screen, that means that you have 2 minutes to share some closing thoughts or drop a bomb or two of how we can, a tool or two that we can use to break free of the bondage of those feelings of loneliness. Are you guys ready to go there?
That was
We've been there a little bit, you know.
Yeah? Okay. All right.
Whoa!
Well, first of all, thanks, folks, for joining us tonight and supporting us in what we're doing here and honoring us because what we're here to do, as Jay just said, is to bring connection to everyone. And through Charles and Josh and Evis, Jay and me, when we share our story, if you will, we share our experiences, if you will, from our heart, that could open up a place in your heart space to make that connection, just to say, I'm not alone. Wow. Evis is feeling this too. Evis is going through this too. Jeff is going through this. Charles is going through this too. Jay is going through this. Josh is going through this. I'm not alone in my journey. I'm not alone. There are other people who share what I'm feeling right now. There are other people who share, who have had that same experience as I do. I'm not alone in my journey. I'm really not alone in my journey through this. And that is the key part in all of this. When you are by yourself and you are alone, is tools that you can use that I use was begin to look at what is in my life, the relationships that are in my life, the people who do champion my highest good. But the key with that is your heart open enough to receive that love in your life? The key to moving through this aloneness or feeling lonely is to have those feelings, but look at the relationships that you do have in your life, what you have accomplished, all that is in your life, and is what's standing between you and having that inner fullness, that inner fulfillment, is your ability or non-ability to open your heart to receive love. Because if there is a fear, and believe me, I've been there too, the death-defying fear of opening my heart to let someone in. What has helped me through my loneliness, emptiness, is being able to know that I am safe, to open my heart, to connect with another, and let love in.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Wow.
There you go.
Felt that, brother.
There you go.
Yeah, man. Ah, beautiful, Jeff. Beautiful, brother.
Jazz Star. You see that comment there, Jay? She said she's going to go get her Snoop Doggy Dogg in with her boyfriend since she was 17. Hey, right, go Jazz, go girl. Come on now. All right, I'm not mad at you. Yeah, I need a little bit of tenderoni, you know.
You know what I love? It said the pandemic has got me being human and wanting more connection.
Yeah,
That's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing.
Yep. That's what I meant before about finding out through all of this, through this pandemic, what is important for you. I urge everybody to go out and listen to Bruce Springsteen's song Human Touch. Read the lyrics and listen to the song. And I guarantee you will all identify with that song and what he wrote.
there you go.
And it's about that human connection, that human connection in us. And so many people now, including me, is feeling how important that is. When did you feel that I needed to make more money? I needed to get another car. I needed to get another thing. I needed to get this. And I needed to get all of that to fill myself up. And what you're really looking for is just a connection in here. Many people, I think one of the wonderful things through this global pause that's going to come out of it is what we're talking about tonight. More people are saying, wow, what is so important to me is not the big car, the big house, more money, and this. It is simple, a heart connection with someone else, my community, being with people, and creating a collective consciousness that we're creating here.
Yeah. Charles, you're up. You're in a hot seat.
I'm not going to take too much time since we're over. I need a head massage right now. I don't know about you. I don't like sitting around by myself. Somebody have a foot massage, head massage. But I think that, you know what, it's a lot of people have gotten to a space where I think that, maybe because of past things or past relationship issues, or maybe even getting older, and having dealt with things that, just didn't pan out at times, was a disappointment, and still seeing disappointments out here. And then once again, I think some people are just okay with that one-on-one time. I think there really should be a balance, because one or the other can lead to things that we may not want in our life, right? If you want someone so bad in your life, you could end up just jumping in different things just to fill that void, and next thing you know, you're sleeping with that one and hanging with this one, and that one's breaking your heart, and you're taking any toxic foolishness that comes your way just to say you have someone in your life. But then also there's that other side where maybe you enjoy that time alone now, but what about in 5 years when you may hit 55 or 60, and then kind of maybe want somebody around, in especially in your older years. Are you going to have those same options at that time when you're ready to say, hey, you know what, man, I would love to have someone, in my life. So I think there's just, there's balance in all of it, and everybody has their right to choose. But I choose head massage right now over loneliness. All right.
Love it.
Charles, thank you for bringing forward your perspective and what you're yearning and desiring in this moment. Gotta love this comment from Gillian Bowie, coming in from, I believe, the UK. Such a amazing. I believe it's middle of the night there, perhaps, and she still shows up on Real Men Real Talk Live. And so, thank you, Gillian. I do want to acknowledge. She says, making me think. I could always give love, but found it very, very difficult to receive love. That is such a powerful statement, and perhaps a future show topic. Obviously, that there's more depth to that statement,
Yeah.
and wow, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
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 Thank you
Man.
so much for sharing your vulnerability in this moment.
Mm.
Appreciate that.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh, look what happens.
nah, man.
Take-
Look, go. Sorry, Joe.
Now, as you take your eye off the screen and look what happens, you just got moved.
Eyes always on the screen. And my brothers and sisters, as always, in the collective, thank you for watching the show. Gonna ask you, are your eyes on your screen? You know, what we're talking about here tonight is absolute divine intervention. Never in a time on this planet have we had the ability, the opportunity, and the choice to now rise above what we've been through on this planet to that heart space that we're talking about, to actually start connecting from a heart space. Now, there might be stuff happening in your life sounding like triggers. Triggers are left, right, and center for everyone right now. I don't care if it turns up in the shape of a quarantine, of a pandemic, a virus, this, that, whatever. That distraction is there for you to try and avoid something. That person is you. The person, that little child that may have been avoided back in those first 7 years. This time around, though, you don't need to avoid anymore. You're being heard. You're being seen. And we have the human touch coming back on earth right now. If you're feeling alone, one shortcut for me, if I ever crossed my mind of that loneliness, was just to close my eyes, take a big deep breath, and go in tune to my cells. I went in tune to my tendons. I went in tune to my muscles, to my skeleton, to my bones. Be present. Come back in tune and align to yourself. You are never alone. You will always be one. You have a choice to now connect with soul family, light tribe, other vibrations and frequencies that connect to your highest possible version. Because until then, we will keep recycling these old patterns and past traumas, abuses, and go through these patterns of loneliness. So I invite you, brothers and sisters, start embodying those brothers and sisters, like here on Real Men Real Talk Live, that are going to come to that heart space, that heart center, to listen to you, to help you process some of these deeper, darker emotions and feelings, and allow yourself to be free. And on that note, my brothers and sisters, have a beautiful evening on the other side of the pond. Here in the land down under, let's get out and get the Saturn today. Peace.
It's always, for me, challenging to be the last one to give my closing thoughts, because each one of you inspires me with your words of wisdom and experience from having walked the path of this thing called life. What I like to do is again acknowledge and thank the viewers and listeners, family and friends, foes, as Evis would say. Thank you for joining us and participating in our Friday night show. We invite you to please share it out on Facebook. We have noticed a significant algorithm shift in the last 3 weeks that we have no control over, but there has been a significant shift. And so we're asking for your assistance. If you enjoy the show, if you find value, please share it out with your family and friends and help us grow this show where it's less about the show and more about the message. This topic is a really difficult topic to really digest and dissect because there's so many pieces to it. But I know this is that from my own experience of having lived 54 years, feeling lonely most of the time, it's a horrible way to live. I didn't know any different because I wasn't given that blueprint. But I have found the blueprint. And most days, I know this is that if we are feeling lonely, it's just a feeling. It's an inner feeling that we have that starts up in our mind from our thoughts. And we have the ability to shift our feelings because they come and go, they're fleeting. But if the longer we hold on to them, they will become our perspective about ourselves and become our reality. But we also have something called a superpower, and that's our own ability to change our outcome, how we talk to ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, how we show up or don't show up for ourselves. The first gateway to that is through awareness. And then we could start to teach ourselves how to deny those feelings. We can acknowledge that they're true. It's how I'm feeling. But it doesn't mean that I have to give myself permission to sit in it and stew in it and stay in it and roast in it for days, weeks, and months anymore. We have the power to say, no, 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 not today. Today, I'm going to make a different choice for myself. I'm going to turn on that music that makes me feel good. I'm going to sing in the shower. I'm going to sing in the car while I'm doing it live. I'm going to write. I'm going to journal. I'm going to call a friend and do something I'm uncomfortable with. I'm going to do a video chat so I can see them. I could really see them and see down into them, see into them, feel into them at their soul level. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to take a bike ride. I'm going to jump up and down. These are all ways. If you have a passion for a hobby, if you love to cook, cook more that day. Maybe cook for a neighbor who's hurting, who's alone, and offer to bring them food. By being of service that way to somebody else and showing love, we can help ourselves dissolve those feelings. And so with that, I love you guys. I miss Josh tonight. We missed you, Josh. We're sorry you couldn't make it.
Get better, brother.
Speedy recovery. And
The DL, Josh, is only for 7 days.
yeah. With that, you guys are amazing. Thank you for joining us tonight on Real Men, Real Talk Live. We'll catch you next week on another episode. See you next week, guys.